Welcome and thank you for choosing our course. We hope you will find it useful and interesting. The first chapter is about deciding on the business idea. This is a crucial part of the process to get right. According to a Statista 2017 analysis of 101 startups, the top reason for their business failing was no market need. In this chapter, we will go through 3 sections: identifying the right business idea, assessing the business idea, and validating the business idea. In order to identify the right business idea, you need to spend time thinking about 3 components. The first is your skills or talents. We have included 10 here, just as examples, such as sales, communication, creativity, and coding. The second component to consider is customer needs or wants. Finding ways to help people lose weight, make money, or find love are always top of the list. We have again included 10 examples, but this is by no means the entire list. You can create your own list based on your own observations, research, or problems you have experienced yourself. The third component is considering your interests. Follow your passion seems to be the motto of entrepreneurship, but it's not entirely good advice if you do not take your skills and customer needs into consideration. Creating a business based on something you're interested in, however, can help you stick to it when things get tough. Once we put these 3 components together, we find the ideal business. Here are some examples of the business ideas you could come up with by combining these 3 components: a stargazing events company, a personal trainer agency, and a South African movies review comedy channel. You can also check out the 10-day Fast Lane series on our blog for more ideas and inspiration. At this point, we need to note that although most of this course is focused on the process of starting a completely new business, it is also worth exploring buying an existing business or going the franchise route to reduce business risk. We will be discussing the process for buying an existing business and what to look out for, as well as how to assess a franchise in Chapter 5. Once you have spent some time on the creative process of dreaming up business ideas, you need to get realistic about whether this idea could actually make money. To assess the idea, you need to consider its potential profitability and whether it would be a personal fit. Starting with profitability, you need to assess whether there is a market for your product or service and how big it is. This will require some research, and we have included a list of websites you may want to visit. You can check out the longer list with addresses on our resources pack. You may also want to look at the financial statements of publicly listed companies in the industry you have chosen. As part of their communication with stakeholders, they will talk about the prospects of their industry in relation to their future plans. Some need to be taken with a grain of salt, of course, but they can help supplement your research. The second consideration is capital. How much money would you need to start that business? Running out of cash was the second biggest reason for the failure of startups. We tend to be incredibly optimistic when calculating startup costs, which leads to issues down the line. In Chapter 3 of this course, we will look at ways to reduce costs in the business, and in Chapter 4, we will be exploring some ways to finance your startup. The third consideration is competition. The book Blue Ocean Strategy by Morbone and Kim argues that lasting success comes from creating blue oceans, which are untapped new market spaces ripe for growth. They say new businesses should focus on creating and capturing new demand rather than exploiting existing demand and trying to fight off competition. The other option discussed in 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is last mover advantage, where he advises that you target a small group of people concentrated together and served by few or no competitors. Thinking you will try and get 1% of a billion-rand market can be more difficult than you think when pitching yourself directly against larger and more established competitors. Another critical consideration when assessing the business idea is barriers to entry. Barriers to entry is the economic term describing the existence of high startup costs or other obstacles that prevent new competitors from easily entering an industry or area of business. Barriers to entry include high capital requirements, government regulations, brand loyalty, and access to distribution channels. High barriers to entry mean reduced competition. Essentially, the more obstacles there are, the less people there will be at the finish line. Now that we have discussed profitability, we need to look at personal fit in order to assess whether the business idea is feasible. Two questions you need to ask yourself are, what would my day look like? And would I enjoy doing this every day? Try not to get clouded by the idea of the amount of money you could make or the freedom of being your own boss, but be brutally honest about the business. Baking cupcakes for friends and family may be fun, but spending 10 hours a day baking hundreds of cupcakes 7 days a week might not sound so attractive. The final step of deciding on the business idea is validating it. Validating the business idea simply means testing whether anyone has any interest in spending money on the product or service you want to offer prior to launching the business. This is crucial to do before spending time and months or years on something no one wants. Firstly, you could validate the business idea through social media surveys. This is a quick and free way of testing an idea if you have a good number of followers who include your intended target market. The downside with this is people might like the idea in theory, but it does not mean that they would actually spend money on it. Still, it's a good dipstick approach. Secondly, you can run a pre-order campaign where you offer people a big discount for ordering and paying before your launch. You could also do a trial launch if you plan to sell online. One entrepreneur set up a website and sold his products without manufacturing a single one. He then refunded his customers, but at that point he knew that there was interest for his product. If you are planning on opening a physical store, you can do a pop-up for a few months before signing a year-long lease. Selling at a market could also help you gauge customer interest. It is important to ensure that you are setting up shop where your target customer will easily find you, otherwise your results could be wrong as you are not testing the correct market. The third option is to check out the competition. Competition can be a double-edged sword because on one hand it tells you that there is a market for the product, but on the other that you already have someone else competing to fulfill that need. Finding out how profitable the incumbent businesses are should also be part of your research. Ultimately, validating the business will have to go through a number of iterations followed by adjusting your business model. We will be discussing how to construct your business model in Chapter 2.